Hey everybody, and welcome back to Romantasy Roundtable, A Tale of Rick and Roses. This is Rick, and I'm joined with my roses.
Amanda.
And Kim.
And we have a special guest rose today.
I was waiting for the rose to join.
I'm Julia. I'm Amanda's sister, so our voices probably sound a little similar because this is an audio medium.
Sure.
Medium.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's an autumn medium. I love it.
There's no video. We're different people.
So we're doing something special today. Amanda is with her sister in Georgia.
Yes, we are in Georgia.
That's right. Kim is in New York, and I am in Jersey.
We're in three different states. We are a tri-state podcast.
That's right. And we're so desperate to get to Onyx Storm that we're recording it this way so we can start that book right now. Right after this, hopefully. Maybe some of us already started it.
I was going to ask, has anybody started Onyx Storm?
Me, I have. I did it.
Julia's read it.
I'm 2 chapters in, including the prologue.
I finished Demon Copperhead. Does that count?
Oh, was it good?
It was okay.
Oh God.
It was very good. I recognize that it is a 5-star book. I shouldn't have read it at this point in my life and should have listened to Kim when she told me 752 times not to read it right now. And I read it anyway. So I gave it 4.75 stars, which breaks my rule of no quarter stars. But it's a 5-star book that was hard for me to read.
I just read a book about mermaids because I know exactly where I am in my life right now.
Yeah, hell yeah, you did.
I definitely don't have room for whatever Amanda just read, but I'm very impressed and proud of her for doing that.
And I just started reading Sarah J. Maas's Crescent City series because, likewise, that's where I am in my life right now. Where I'm like, oh, there's more SJM. Cool.
Let's do it.
That's the brain power that I have to deal with.
I haven't read that series yet, and I am digging some Romantasy and love that you guys are into this. So, yeah, I might be not far behind you.
I just finished a book to get my Goodreads, what is it, award, star, prize, whatever.
Yep.
I finished that book I was saying, The Eyes Are the Best Part.
Oh, you read it?
No,
I did read it.
Don't ask questions. Do not ask any questions.
So Julia, it's a horror book.
Is
And
it cannibalism?
Wait, I'm sorry. It's a what?
it's a
what?
horror book. Horror.
What?
Or
Horror.
like when you lift them on the chairs.
That's what I told him. That's what I told him. So it's a horror book, and it's titled "The Eyes Are the Best Part," so you can see where this goes. Yeah, I would say it's basically cannibalism-ish. I say this lightly, but like she only eats like five eyes in the whole book. Has the last pair with some rice.
Best part of the book, or just the best part of what she was eating?
It was the best part of what she was eating.
Kim is so upset right now.
Okay, so y'all, Amanda was out of the office last week, and so I was stuck with Rick in the office, and he unkindly read parts of this book to me out loud, and they are horrific. Is that how I say it? Horror? Horrific. Here, that's how I'll say it. So don't ask no questions. You do not want to hear about how this all comes down and how they describe eating eyeballs. It is awful.
I read my first horror book recently, and it was not graphic. It was creepy. Like
that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Shoot, what was it called? I'm gonna look it up. Move on and come back to me.
Give us stars for.
Yes. So honestly, it's gonna sound crazy. I finished this book in less than 2.5 days.
Remember when you like didn't know how to read?
He knew.
I still don't know how to read.
Reader, there's a difference.
You gave it 2 stars?
I did. Because actually, funny. Like Julia said, it presented and like wore this horror mask, but it was really just more of a gross book. So I like killed it, and I was like, "When's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? I'm not scared." And it gets to the end, I'm like, "Really? Okay." Anywho, I have decided on my next book though, to read concurrently with this. Go ahead.
It was called When She Was Me. It's creepy. It's
all right.
A dark, mysterious, tense, slow-paced thriller. I gave it 3.5 stars.
All right, I put that. Actually, Amanda either told me you were reading that, or I saw that on your Goodreads.
Yes.
I think I saw it on your Goodreads. The book that I decided to
Sorry, I interrupted you. This
No,
is
you're
my
good.
first time podcast.
The book I'm going to read concurrently before we start talking about our current book is this is all over Reddit. This is like the thing you have to read, I guess, if you like Romantasy. The Serpent and the Wings of Night.
I
It's like
can't
up there.
wait for this to not be the new hotness.
Right, the new hotness.
Like when you were like, we have to read From Blood and Ash, and then like a month and a half later, you're like, have you ever heard of Fourth Wing?
Shut up. Speaking of Fourth Wing, we've just finished a book called Iron Flame.
Fifth Wing.
Fifth Wing, to those who know. And it is not Seagull.
Seagull.
Last we left you, Violet Sorengale had just figured out that she needed not the blood of dragons, but sorry, I was
Not the blood of riders, but the breath of the dragon.
The breath of the dragons. I just got a text from our friend Mary. So yeah, she's talking about work, and I don't want to talk about work. I know. So she's like, "Oh my God, it's not blood of riders; it's breath of dragons." But as I told Kim, because she didn't understand, the problem with having to raise the wards is that the Griffin riders, don't thumbs down me, wouldn't be able to power. I don't know what they do. So that's where we left. What?
Wield?
Sure, they wield.
Right?
All right, maybe.
Well, it was reigniting the Wardstone.
Right, but by reigniting the Wardstones, the Griffin Riders lose their powers.
Correct, and yes, the Griffin Riders will not be able to access their magic. Yes.
So at the beginning of chapter 52,
yeah, thank you. You're good at this.
Violet shares this information with the Griffin Riders before they're going off on this mission, which I guess is like a training mission. Like they're like trying side quest. Yeah, they're like trying to find some
thing.
Yeah, ruins. I don't know. What?
Ruins. So it's because they had been learning about ruins, and so this was supposed to be their test that they could be able to go and like find the ruins and be able to recognize them. So they were split up into small groups to go and be able to find them that were spread out all over the territory. And
shockingly, Violet is paired with Kat, which
oh my God,
crazy how that keeps happening.
Unbelievable.
It's just so there can be fan fiction about the two of them together, right? Like that's the only reason that this keeps happening.
Wait, you got a link for that?
But I'll bet that's a thing, right? Like that's got to be a thing.
Probably.
So Julia, I'm going to pull a Rick for a second and tell you need to move closer to the mic.
Oh, thank you.
We can hear you better.
We can hold it here.
I'm part of this.
Yes. Okay. So Violet is with Kat and Sloan and Vezia.
Not for long.
Seagull. She's wearing a red shirt, man. She's got to go.
I knew that was going to happen.
Okay. So they're trying to, I don't understand.
They're trying to get through the tunnel. I don't know what was going on. This is a boring part for me.
Okay. So they knew that there was the signet or the ruin in there. So they went to like go look for it, and it's in this like cave tunnel. And then they get back into it, and they're like, "Oh, there's a smell of another dragon back here."
Yeah, sorry. The ChatGPT notes are crazy, but so Solas is there, and Rick, who is Solas?
Solas is Varish's dragon.
Yes.
I think. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Solas kills Vezia. Rip.
Yep.
She dead.
And Violet barely manages to save Kat. And she's screaming for Taryn, and Darna is with them because she's Lil and can fit in the tunnels. And that chapter 52 ends with Solas trying to kill them. And then they escape. How do they escape?
Yeah,
okay,
and Darna kills him.
Yeah, and Darna goes for his throat and gets small dragon like whacked around onto the walls of the cave, but like continues to hold on, and ends up being the hero of the cave here. But also, Rick, to kind of your point earlier, Kat is told to leave. So like Violet is like, get the fuck out of here, and Kat is like, no, I have arrows. I'm going to keep shooting. And so she's like, I'm going to stand and fight, even though you told me to leave. So this is like the start of a partnership, perhaps. And importantly, we also learn for the first time that Sloan has a signet,
Yes.
and her signet is that she can siphon other people's power.
Yes.
Be important for later.
Does seem
Real important for later.
maybe important. We also like start getting some hints of like, wow, Andarna sometimes seems to like come out of nowhere.
Right?
Like, where was she? So spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
FYI,
girl,
when we get
I
there,
love her.
I didn't see any of that coming.
And Darna's been
just-
really like elusive up until this point where you're like, yeah, what's that dragon's deal? What's going on? And then this is we're really starting to get to see some, I don't even want to call it character development, character revelation. It's like we finally get to understand what's all about this character. She's my favorite character. So
She is this podcast's favorite character.
Excellent.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Julia, have you listened to our podcast?
A little bit, not as much as I should.
She's a first-time caller, first-time listener.
I listened to a bit about Seagull. That was fun. We were talking about that. Yeah.
Chapter
Okay, so
54 is man. I mean, we kind of wrapped up chapter 54. It's going to the same thing.
There's some soup in chapter 53, is there not?
There's some soup.
Is it
Oh. I mean, it's not the throne, so like,
good? Yeah,
who
but that
cares?
happened already.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that happened in the last bit.
Yeah.
The throne.
Yeah, the throne happened. So you know,
Yeah. So the rest of like there isn't a ton of soup in this section.
No,
No.
yeah, it's like very gentle.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. All right. So chapter 54. What?
I think the notes are not that great. The notes are not that great. So let's see. So
I
after
can
they
do
get
my
out of
notes.
read your notes. Help us out here.
Okay, so
Maybe I have notes.
so Xaden comes clean about what his deal had been with Violet's mom.
Yes.
Because she
Xaden
was
and Violet are doing this thing where, like, she's asking, like, it's like, ask me anything, like,
Right.
full disclosure.
and he was like, "Are you never going to ask me about your mom?" And she was like, "Fuck, you've known all the time that like this was a question I wanted to ask." And so he comes clean because she's been afraid to ask the question because she was like, "What if you only love me because you had to save me because my mom told you had to?" But what comes out of this at the end, she was like, "You want me to ask you a real question? I'll ask you one. What is your second signet?"
Bum, bum, bum. But the reason they hinted at this a couple chapters earlier where somebody's like, Violet, has your second signet manifested yet? Because she has 2 dragons. So you would think she'd have 2 signets. And somebody else, was it Sloan who was listening, who was like, a second signet is a thing that you get when you're related to one of your dragon's previous riders. And Xaden's dragon, whose name is
Seagull.
Xaden's dragon Seagull was his grandfather's dragon.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. But people don't super know that because they think it was like his great uncle or like somebody more distant.
But the way I read that was that he was trying to keep that hush hush because then everyone would know he probably has a second signet.
Yeah.
Right.
So Violet asks, "What's your second signet?" And Xaden like loses all the color from his face and then they get disrupted and we don't get to find out at this moment what it is.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's what the soup is about at this point in the book. Like, it's not a super spicy scene, but it's about like Violet wants to trust this guy. They love each other, but there's just something he's not telling her. And so it's all just kind of building of like, why is he being so sus, as my daughter would say?
Yes.
He's sus.
He's sus.
We love Ellie also.
Yes.
This podcast stands Ellie.
This
Oh, we do.
podcast
Yeah.
is brought to you by Ellie, actually. She's the sponsor of this week's podcast.
I did. Go ahead. I had a funny. So I wrote. I don't remember exactly where this was, but I highlighted this. I thought this was really funny. I was like waiting for this one for Andorna. Who says the other adolescents are not bonded and don't understand me. Like that was like I totally got. You don't get me, mom.
Yeah,
It's not a phase.
the teen stuff is so good. And Darna is
Reminds me of Groot.
Yeah, it is very like baby Groot, teen Groot. Rick,
And
these are
Groot.
ChatGPT's notes are the worst notes I've ever seen.
Okay.
Look
That's
at
fine.
the notes. Look at the notes for chapter 55.
I took like actual legit
That
notes.
would be a good thing that ChatGPT is not
But
quite.
look at the
replicating.
notes for chapter 55 real quick.
Yeah.
Chapter 55.
I don't want to spoil it. Like, we're gonna get into it. Yeah. Okay, that's weird.
That's not chapter
Wait, what?
55. That's the last scene in the
That
book.
is
Yeah.
not right. Okay.
Oh,
Okay, well, anyway, what happens next?
It's actually.
So
Here's
let
the
me
thing.
tell you about chapter 55, because again, I have some better notes.
Thank you, Kim.
So as we move forward, so we learn that there's going to be an attack, and that the Venons and Wyverns are sort of coming for the hatching grounds. And so Violet is forced to go ahead and raise the wards. And as they head out to the edge of the territory, the edge of the wards, to be able to fight off the Venom and the Wyvern, they have a moment where Xaden is like, okay, I can now, because there's nobody else around, so nobody else can hear me, I can share with you what my second signet is. And so he's like, what I can actually see is intentions. So he is an inform of
Intrinsic?
Intrinsic.
I think it's intrinsic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can't read
Fact
people's
check.
minds, but the moment before they do something, he can see sort of like what their intentions are. And so
Violet loses her mind.
but does not lose her mind for half a book like she did with the other two revelations about Satan.
Not gonna lie. At this point, it's like, I can't do this again. I can't do this again. If she does this again, I need a break. I
Yeah,
need a break.
I was fine with the way she dealt with this.
Me too. This was so much better.
Which I
She
think
was
is
mad.
like, it's important because it's like it shows that she's learned to trust him and that she's learned to no, that's not a compound sentence. She's learned to trust him, period.
No, yeah, I was.
accepted that even with the things she can't trust about him, she knows that whatever she could learn, she's willing to overlook at this point. She's in it.
Yeah, I was.
At this point.
Didn't it?
I was real happy about that. That made me feel good.
But also like wild. Like
Which part?
when she asked what's Xaden's second signet, what did you all think his second signet was going to be? Because I didn't think he could read minds.
I did not think he could read minds.
I wasn't shocked, honestly.
You weren't shocked?
I weren't. No, I
There
weren't
was
shocked. I
something
wasn't
in
shocked.
there was something in the first book about like they alluded to it where there I forget what it was brief, but there was some moment where they said something about like reading minds is like when Violet was trying to figure out what her signet was, she was like, I just hope it's not that because that's a really big deal.
That guy
and
got killed.
yeah.
Mhm.
By death. And so like once he started acting really afraid, I was like, oh, this is something he doesn't want people to find out.
But this was also, again, like we talked about this on the last episode about how like Basgiath is like the way that they train their signets is like so specific, and like Violet wasn't really getting the kind of training that would teach her to like use it in a controlled way. She was only being trained to be like a freaking atom bomb, right? And so like this is like Xaden was like, there are different kinds of intrinsics, and maybe if they actually trained us instead of just killing us, then I'd actually know more about it. But instead, he's just like hidden it. But also, what comes out here is that Scale had kept this a secret from Tarniak. And so that, I mean, some dragon drama there.
Yeah,
He was
there's
not
super
happy
big
with that.
thing.
He like looked at her. He's like, "The fuck." Also, I actually, I'm looking back at the ChatGPT notes, and the chapter 55 thing isn't wrong. It's not wrong. It's not. So I know what you're talking about, right? But you're talking about so when she's asking him, right? And I saw this on Reddit too. Someone was asking this too. At this point, you can see he's got like a faint red ring around his iris, which is also a characteristic of having a second signet.
Huh.
Yeah,
That happens in chapter 55?
Yes, I know that because I read a comment on Reddit about the same thing. That they were saying what the traits of having a second signet were, and that's one of them. So
Fair, but that line at least what So our ChatGPT notes are like have a couple quotes pulled out into it, and those are specifically from the last chapter.
I actually don't think it is, because I have that in my highlighted as well. But we can come back to that later anyway.
I had a thought about this, and I couldn't remember if it was from Iron Flame, or Onyx Storm. So I Googled it before saying it, and it's Onyx Storm. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
All right.
This is why y'all don't read ahead.
Yep. No thoughts in your head. That's what.
Nope.
That's
Smooth
what
brain.
Smooth brain.
Smooth brain. These thoughts roll right off.
Clouds. Yeah.
Just vibes. Okay. So, yeah, so that's Xaden's second signet. They get the wards up. The Venon and Wyvern. Which ones are the dragons? The Wyvern.
The dragons are the dragon. Wait, what?
Which ones are the two-legged dragons? The Wyvern?
Oh, Wyvern, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they all drop. And then the Venon run off. And so we think the wards are up, but the riders the flyers can still do magic. And so we know that something's wrong right now. We'll find out what that is in a couple chapters. And then that's when Mira and Violet get summoned to meet with the general, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Powers that be. Yep.
So General Melgren, who is the big boss, I'm bleeding. Oh, I'm really bleeding. Okay.
Oh no.
It's fine. We're fine. General Melgren is the big boss, and his signet is that he can see the outcome of a battle before it happens, unless there are 3 or more marked individuals there.
Right.
And so he has seen the outcome of a battle at a place.
Yeah, we're not doing that game.
Samara.
What is
Samara, maybe? I think it's Samara, right?
Yeah.
I have, as
I
we
was
know,
like, that was an easy one. I can remember it.
I've never remembered the name of a place in my life. So he's seen the outcome of battle, and they're going to lose, and so he is trying to get the revolution folks to join him.
Yeah, and they're basically like, "Fuck out of here, no," and they peace out on him. They're like, "Yeah, good, die."
Yeah, but before that, so Mama Sorengale is there. And because they've requested to meet with Violet, and Mira specifically, and before that, as they're saying no, Brennan shows up. And Mama Sorengale is like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, so that was good. That was good, and he's like, "Yeah, Mom, I'm back. Actually, I've never been gone, and it was your fault, and now we're gonna let everyone die." So hot.
And so General Melgren leaves, and she holds back to say bye to her kids for a moment. And she gives them the other journal.
Yeah, you're right. She gives them the other part of the journal. She's doing the good thing. So at this point, I had predicted that she was playing like a little double agent thing. I thought that, she was trying to bring down like Melgren and company from the inside. So we're in that direction, right? We're getting there. Like maybe that might happen. Let's see.
And to be fair to you, Rick, I think you had said this at least an episode or 2 ago.
No, I think so. I think I did.
Yeah, like General Sorengale is
Snape.
Yeah. Literally, actually, yes.
Yeah, that's what you said.
I'm like looking at notes. I don't really know. Like, I think this is like a boring part for me. But do we just talk about Okay, so I think it's wrapping up, right? So it's getting sort of to the end of the book here.
And this is that part of the book where the sense is like it's all about to go down, and you're just kind of waiting for it. It's there's not a lot happening because it's just building.
Right, and basically, go ahead.
Right.
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying, so, Violet has the realization that, like, that conversation they had with Melgren and her mom, and she was like, holy shit, like, they think this battle is going to be at Samara because that's what Melgren has seen, but because they can't see the battle, that means it's actually happening elsewhere, so it's likely going to be at Basquiat. And so they're like, we all have to go there instead. And
the assembly doesn't want to.
Right, exactly.
So only a couple of them go.
Yeah.
I will. So I do want to go back a little bit just because I really like this quote. I was like, oh God, right to my heart. When Xaden was telling Violet about his second signet, he's like, I can't tell you, because you're gonna fall out of love with me. And then he's like, less than a minute. I'm like, oh God, that one's done. Anywho, fast forward to where we are now. So they get the troops. They got my boy Riddick, right? Everyone's favorite Riddick. They get Riddick. They get the whole cast of characters, and they're on their way back to Basquiat. Basquiat.
Her whole squad goes. They stay
Yeah.
together. He brings up that, unlike what happened in the war games, the whole squad stays together, and that's significant. And I think really great, and leads into the character development that we've seen among that squad this book, where she was trying to be like, well, no, I can't risk Rhiannon and Riddick and Sawyer, but no, they're in it. They're real ride or die friends. I love
Again,
that.
They found a bigger cause too. There's so much about, we hear all about the politics and this history and all of this stuff between these different groups of people. And this band of friends kind of has their own cause that they're about to.
Yeah.
And
I was
one more.
say,
Go ahead.
Sorry, Rick, I keep cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to comment on the fact that I feel this is the sort of clutch that all fantasy writers fall into, is that everything has to happen in the last 20% of the book. And so again, we've been talking about some of this stuff, and Rick, you even said earlier, you were like, some of this was boring to me. And then we hit the last 20% and it's just
Go time.
Holy crap. What is happening? Everything's happening all at once. I fall into this trap when I hit towards the end of a book where I read too fast also.
Yeah.
Because I can see that I'm getting towards the end and I'm just my brain just go crazy. And
I did the same thing.
Yeah, both neurons fire and I just don't absorb enough information. So I felt like this really happened at the end of this book also, where it was just so much is going on, and I had to go back and actually reread it because I feel like I had missed too much because there was just so much action packed in.
Before we get to that wrap up part, I did take a note that I actually do think could be important. Maybe, I don't know, Julia knows about, if anything, but this is an Onyx Storm. But I did take a note when Xaden was talking to Violet about his past and all the things. All he says about his mom is she left when I was young.
Yes, we do not hear about his mom. And so I was going to say a prediction for Onyx Storm is I
don't know what you're talking about.
We got to learn.
Make faces. I have an amazing poker face. I never give anything away.
We're going to learn about mom. And Onyx
yeah, we are.
Maybe.
We sure are. Wow, thanks.
That smooth brain got very bumpy for a minute.
Smooth brain.
All of a sudden signals were firing. I was like, oh, I don't know.
All right, so they're there, right? And basically, let's get to the good stuff. So they landed Basquiat, right? And they're like, all right, Mama Sorrengail, take us to the wars. And she's like, you're so stupid. The wars are fine. I have everything. And they're like, no, you're stupid. And they go back and forth for a bit. And then she's like, just take us there, right? So they go to check them out. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. And I'm just making a face because who's there, Rick?
Who's there? Jack motherfucking Barlow.
Jack
is his official name.
Barlow.
God.
Is there, and he kills his dragon. And it's honestly, this is how you know that you've really been reading the Fourth Wing, because at this point I was like, that you can't do that.
Right. I was like,
2 thumbs down.
Absolutely not. I'm gonna throw my book across the
I was like, you
now.
can't kill a dragon. What are we doing?
Right. I was like, oh, he's dead. He's gonna die.
Right.
Good.
But he doesn't die because we find out that he has turned Venon, and that he turned Venon actually quite some time ago. It doesn't seem that we exactly know when, but his kind of motivation for the whole thing was how can we trust the dragons to know what real power is when Violet, who in Jack's mind is this weak little thing, has bonded not only one of the strongest dragons in history, but also a second dragon. And so he's like, fuck that. And so he leeches power from the earth and becomes Venom. And then he slays his own dragon to destroy the ward stone and bring down the ward and allow the Venom to attack Vizgaiath.
This part was fun for me because I just kept asking myself, it's like a which came first, the chicken or the egg thing, where was he an asshole and that's why he took power from the earth? Or did he become Venom and now he's an asshole? Because it is kind of unclear about when all this went down. And so I'm like, well, how is this? Is this explaining his behavior, or is this just like consistent with who he is?
Didn't he throw someone off the parapet in like the first chapter though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About this.
He did.
Yeah. Not me / Dylan, but it was the other person.
Dylan is Kim.
Yeah, Kim's gone.
Me.
Are you the kid he shares an office with?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Me and Kim share.
Get to match a face with a name.
Me and Kim share an office. It's our
With
office.
me. They share an office with me.
Your name's not on the door.
I've heard this. Yeah.
Yeah. Rick is the colonizer. Yes, as you've heard. The professional water also.
The what?
Moon took your name off the door like a month ago.
Yeah.
I have to fix that within like an official plate. All right. So
can I say a couple things? So just to clarify, so what we did learn, and I went back to take notes before we had our session tonight. So we do know that he was not Venom when he did come across the parapet.
Correct.
Initially. But he did turn before he faced Violet on the mat, because he was pushing power into her on the mat, which is something that Venom
I remember that.
do. And so she notices later, she was like, oh, he had to have turned before then, because that was something that he wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
And they didn't. Go ahead.
No, and I was just going to add too, of like, the whole sort of quiet Nolan subplot that had been happening about Nolan the Mender, and the fact that he had been so tired, and now it is like truly revealed that he has been trying to mend Jack. So he was trying to turn him, back from being Venom.
So they didn't.
Mad at Nolan.
Yeah, for real. That's me also. They didn't say this at all during the book, but if I'm just trying to place when Jack turned Venom, it was after Parapet. And even after he selected his dragon, he couldn't have been Venom and bonded with the dragon.
It was after threshing, so it was after Taryn bonded Violet.
Right. So that was just a thing there. All right. So then they basically say, Dane, read his memory. Find out what he knows. Let's figure this out. And then everyone's like, wait, Dane can read memories? Oh my God. And Dane's like, I don't do shit. I guess we have to like Dane now, because as Violet's...
He's on probation.
Agreed.
But he did a lot to help translate the journals, and he's using his signet for good. And I think that he's respecting Violet's boundaries in a way that I appreciate. And he's still Prince Bitch. But,
he's the only bitch.
Well, his dad is King Bitch.
Guys, he's just like a very rigid thinker.
I know that kid.
Right? I was going to say, we just have to view him as a student we have known and loved in many ways.
As Violet said, yet I've made some kind of, she said, I've made some kind of peace with Dane, haven't I? I'm like, fine. I'll make a little bit of peace with him, I guess. So he reads this dude's mind and finds out that there's many Venom.
They're common.
There's many Venom coming. There is some, I think this is ahead a little bit, but whatever, I don't know, Venom gem nonsense is under the earth that they set up these things, right? Jack placed all these Venom trackers. I don't know. So they don't know where to go, and they're coming. They're coming. At this point, everyone thinks they're gonna die.
Yeah, because the rest of like General Milgren and all those people like are off on the other place where they thought it was going to happen. Right. And so it's like just Mama Sorengale and like some of the infantry who are left behind, and these like basically cadets. And so Mama Sorengale steps into general mode, and she has to, just determine what every squad is doing and how they're all gonna attack and where they're gonna go. And Violet keeps saying, and Andarna, stay here, stay safe, stay out of sight.
Yep.
And she's like, I want to help. And Violet's like, you can't, you're a baby. And she's like, I'm grown up, Mom.
I'm a big girl now. Let me help.
I'm the queen of my own den.
But she also says, I can hide if I need to.
She does say that.
So she's like, I'm going to hide if I need to.
And they're like, fine, go hide, you little baby. Go ahead.
I don't know. I stopped looking at the notes. But we also find out that now that Jacinia has the second journal, she goes back to the translation and she said, it's not 6 dragons, it's 7. And it's the ones of their dens. And they're like, that doesn't make sense because there's only 6 colors of dragon, which, as we all know, are black, green,
Orange,
blue,
Red,
and
yellow.
no.
Not like a ham.
We shouldn't have done this because we can't remember.
That's why I did it, because I thought it would be funny. Regular blue. They're dragon colors. One time Mary came on the pod and we asked her what her favorite color dragon was, and she said that colors were subjective. And if she said green, and yeah, okay. Anyway, so yeah, and so that's when we learn that Andarna is it actually 6 and not 5, or is it 7 and not 6?
It's 6.
Blue,
it's 6.
green, red, orange, yellow, black, right?
Blue, green, red, orange, yellow,
black. Yeah.
Plus 1, which it turns out is the very special Andarna dragon.
Mm-hmm.
The teen queen.
I never thought Andarna was a black dragon. I guess I wasn't tracking that there were only 6 colors of dragons. And I was like, oh, Andarna is like shiny. I thought she was a shiny dragon, like a shiny Pokemon.
Wait.
Well, I mean, she had started out as a golden feather.
Gold.
Yeah,
Right.
so everyone, like, clearly she didn't look like they were dragons, so I didn't think that mattered.
But guys, the reason why she wanted to be a black dragon, she loves her daddy Tarn. Oh God, I'm dead.
He's so much.
He's such a good look. We are here for the father with adopted daughter storyline. We are here for The Last of Us. We are here for The Mandalorian. We are here for Pedro Pascal. We are here for Logan. Like, give me all of these stories where the dad adopts the little baby.
Yep.
Or let's also call out the actual dad on the podcast, Rick, being a great dad.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Julia's 2 kinks are
like really non-toxic masculinity, adopting sweet little baby Grogus, and hot men ripping up Nazi flags. It's both.
Yeah.
We have
love
to
that.
It's important to have variety. Yeah. That's what we're here for today.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, to say, so that's where we're moving on. I just before that, they even threw some things at me that I still didn't catch, because I thought her shininess was because she was a new little baby, right? From the sleep. But Violet was, she was getting dead from a Venon, like she was being attacked, and she was like going unconscious, and she said she saw the mountain fall off and zoom in, but it was actually Andarna. Because she like camouflaged into the mountain. I was like, oh, well, she's whatever. She was just big and looked like a mountain. And then right before she finds this out, she's at the Wardstone. She's at the actual Wardstone, and she's like, Andarna, I need you. And Andarna was already there. Like she had
she was hiding.
Yeah,
she was hiding. And she's like,
Brennan, at this point, at some point in between things that we're talking about, Brennan, not Brendan, Brennan mends the Wardstone, which is cool. I didn't know that menders could mend things,
physical things,
people, which is cool. So he mends the Wardstone. I also am realizing now that I was listening back to our last episode, and I refer to Andarna in that last episode as a pearlescent dragon, which I didn't realize was a spoiler that I had received.
Oh,
I just I was like, oh yeah,
Just thought
'cause
she was shiny.
I just thought she was shiny.
I literally did the
No,
same
she wa-
thing. It's so interesting to me that you all felt that way too.
I didn't.
Like, oh, she's
But
shiny.
it-
Because
Like
she's
in the last episode, I mean, well, in the last set of chapters, it was said, like, I think you had said this also in the last episode, of that she was so black she was purple, or she was.
I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was clear that she wasn't quite what they thought she was. So
Again, I thought it was. What do I know about dragon biology? I thought this is what they
you
did.
didn't,
You know.
you didn't go to dragon science school?
I feel like that's fantasy novel 101 though. Is like when some character has some distinguishing characteristic where it's like everyone talks about her hair or whatever, like that's going to be important at some point.
Yeah.
It's that way.
We talked about that the other day because it was like I was talking with you about her
The
hair.
White Wolf, the Witcher.
And how like her hair is like they keep talking about her hair and like the Sorengale hair. And I was like, what's that? Well, there's another like fantasy story where like her hair is like a foreshadowing of something about her. It's the Disney Channel original movie Zombies. That's what I was
Yes.
referring to.
Oh my gosh. I
love.
could do a whole podcast about that.
About
We
zombies.
love a decom, especially Zombies 2. Good times. Not as good as Paddington 2, not
This-
a decom, but Paddington 2 is the greatest film of
This
all time.
podcast is brought to you by Zombies too.
Not 3 though. I don't like that one that much.
Zombies? No, it wasn't as good.
No, 1 and 2.
Oh my God, Rick, how do
What?
you feel about the Peruvian Pope?
Okay. Woof.
Peru? What?
Sorry. In my head, I was like, not Paddington 3. Paddington 3 is called
Oh.
Paddington in
Sorry,
Peru.
we've been hanging out with Catholics all week, so all we've been doing is consuming Pope
I
memes.
can't consume enough Pope memes.
There's
But
so
Rick,
many about the bear. There's
Bob.
so many.
Bob the Builder.
Uh,
Bob the Pope.
Rick, you're from Peru and he's kind of from Peru. How do you feel?
I feel holy. Like, I've known it all along. Me and JC all day.
My
You know?
favorite meme that I saw about the Pope was imagine being a frat boy who went to Villanova in the 80s and wondering what your buddy Bob is up to now and finding out he's the Pope. Sorry. That was my intuitive leap of Paddington, Zombies, Paddington in Peru, a meme I sent Julia about the Pope giving an orphan a sandwich, and it was Paddington. The Pope is Peruvian. Rick is Peruvian.
This is what we've done all week.
This is what
Because we don't even explain the intuitive leaps half the time. It's just, yep, I'm right there with you because these are all my special interests too.
Sorry.
Speaking
I
of how
also
the Pope. Go ahead.
No. Go, Rick. Go.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I like the reel of the person from his Villanova days who was like, "Holy shit, my situationship when I was 19 is the fucking Pope."
My other favorite one is the one that was like, the Pope was a math major, which makes the vow of celibacy less
I like that
impressive.
one too.
Yep.
You want to hear a good Pope joke? It's squeaky clean too. You can tell kids. You probably heard
Go ahead.
it. Okay. So a Pope, a priest, and a rabbit walk into a bar and they're discussing blood types. And the rabbit says, "I'm probably type O." It's type O.
Because it's typo.
the rabbi.
He's a rabbi.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Terrible. I'm sorry.
Would anyone like to segue us back into the book?
It doesn't got much left.
Okay, so we're back. He mended
So
the
speaking
word.
of how the Pope is so strong and has all the power, right? We need to repower the Ward Stone, just
Thank
like the
you.
power of the Pope. So the Ward Stone has been mended, but it has no power. And Violet, she tries to power it up, right? She does her Palpatine electricity to it, and she's trying real hard, but she can't. She's about to die. She's about to die.
And she's going to kill herself for the cause.
She's going to kill herself for the cause. And someone, I forgot who, was it her mom? Yeah, mom, right? Mom kicks her. Somebody kicks her off of the Ward Stone. I think it's her mom.
Yeah, it's mom.
It's
Yeah.
mom.
And mom is like, "You, aka Sloan, what is your signet?" And Sloan is like, "No, I won't do it." And she's like, "No, yes, you will." And so basically is like, "You must be the siphon for me and my dragon to the Word Stone so that we can repower the words."
And at this moment, Mama Sorengale tells us that the only thing she's ever cared about is protecting her children, and that every choice she's ever made has been to protect her children. And so even though she was party to all of the lies about the Venon and the Wyvern, she did it because she thought it was going to keep her children safe. Julia's going to cry because it's Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, right?
And so she sacrifices herself and lets Sloan siphon all of her power into the Ward Stone so that Violet can raise the wards and save, obviously, Violet and Mira and Brennan, but really everybody.
You guys, I'm going to take us on a tangent real quick. I'm so sorry. I'm never going to be invited back again. My book bestie, who got me into Fourth Wing and really Romantasy in general, but especially Fourth Wing, just posted this drawing that her 7-year-old did for Mother's Day on a card. It's got Pikachu for some reason.
Yeah.
And it says, "I love my mom because she puts books on my Kindle."
Aww.
So
Yes.
we love book moms, even the ones who are complicated, nuanced characters, and we love moms.
This
Happy Mother's Day.
podcast is brought to you by moms.
Absolutely.
I also will now reveal that I've texted both of you this already, but that the spoiler I got was that Mama Sorengale was going to die. And I found this because I was Googling, trying to figure out who a professor was. And they were separated into like professors, dragons, children of the rebels. And then there was a category just called dead parents.
Oh no, it's a Disney movie.
And there were 3 names in the category, and it was Xaden's dad, Violet's dad, and Violet's mom.
But
Are you going to learn?
I was going to say, Amanda is not allowed to Google characters.
Yeah.
But now I'm realizing this is probably the same day that I was like looking at the dragon names and was like, oh, these mean things in Celtic. Let me look them up. And that's probably where I saw that it was like Tarn, black dragon, Violet. And it probably said Andarna, pearlescent dragon, Violet. And so that was also probably.
I read Onyx Storm like the week it came out. So like you could have just asked me, hey, what's the deal with this? And I would have told you.
I don't even remember what character it was that I was trying to.
I feel like this is another one of those things where when you read enough books, especially like enough fantasy books, there's these patterns, right? And Violet's mom had been so one-dimensional where it was two-dimensional, right. One-dimensional. I promise I read.
She didn't have enough dimensions.
She didn't have enough dimensions. And it was like, this is either the most boring character in this entire book or there's a twist.
Yeah.
And the twist
was sad.
Horrible, or maybe it's complicated.
I was sad. This was a good death. This was
a good death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was sad at this part. It was good. And then the next chapter, like the beginning was where they had those little quotes or whatever. It was like her message that I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
And
now I can't. Another layer going forward into the next book in the series is like now there's this complicated thing that she's processing through.
Yeah. Some other battle-y stuff happens.
I was about to get to that.
Happening, and I feel like none of it is super important except for the fact that Sawyer loses his leg.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sawyer's legs.
I have mentioned I would like to update my character affiliation from Dylan to Sawyer. I did not die on the parapet. I was maimed in battle
by a wyvern,
never to recover. And as I said, I am unlucky in love, so I am Sawyer right now.
I fear that I'm Kat's friend who's constantly like, no, Violet didn't kill that other person, and nobody listens to her. I think that's maybe who I am.
I'm Riddick.
Done. Yeah,
obviously.
Easy.
There is one more important battle going on that I wanted to talk about that I forgot, and it's Xaden and the Sage.
Okay, that's obviously what we end on.
Yeah.
Well, but that was going on concurrently while this was happening.
Yes.
I forgot to bring that up. So Xaden is fighting the Sage, the big bad from the first book that they saw, and he's fighting him.
And it's like the Sage is waiting for him, and not
right specifically. Right.
And Violet's been having nightmares about him that seem to be like maybe he's actually in her nightmares.
In her head.
Yeah, in her dreams. Yeah.
So Violet meets up with Xaden at the end, and he's alive, very wounded, but he's very shook. Is like the best way to describe it.
Taryn and Scale are also being like hella weird about it.
Yeah. He's very shook. He's like, I did it. I killed him, and he's like just struggling with it. And then this is so I was waiting. I had brought it up earlier. He says, and I highlighted, you should be scared of me. And I was like, what does that mean? It could mean so many things. But what happens at the end, guys? We have my least favorite thing in all the books that we read, as you know this, a POV change. Who wants to take our POV change?
Fair.
So we end with a transfer to Xaden's point of view, which is also how the first book ends. So I'm fine with that as a parallel. I don't mind reading from Xaden's point of view sometimes. But
I feel like in Akatar we get that a little more. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, but Rick hates it.
That's fun. Yeah, I was gonna say that's where he is.
Yeah, in A Court of the
And a Court of the Green cover, yeah.
In A Court of the Green cover. So in Fourth Wing it ends with Xaden, and in Fifth Wing it ends with Xaden. So I imagine Sixth Wing will also end with Xaden. But Fifth Wing ends with Xaden's perspective, and he recounts the story of basically how the sage knows that Xaden's going to kill him, but wants Xaden to basically corrupt himself and lose his soul in the process. And so in order to kill the sage, Xaden turns Venon.
Didn't see that coming. And he goes down to Jack Barlow, who is a captive, and he goes down to the basement or whatever.
It's Jack
fucking Barlow. Jack fucking Barlow.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need a cure. And Jack, I really like this scene a lot. Very Joker, Batman-esque, like kind of laughs at him. He's like, there's no cure, man. You're one of me now.
We're everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
Basically.
There's an episode of Supernatural where I don't remember what creature it is. Cindy, when you get to this episode, can you text me and tell me what creature it is and what episode of Supernatural it is? But there's a creature who gets turned into this thing, and it's a thing that has a taste for human flesh, and he's like, I can just try it once and I won't have to keep doing it, or I can just eat cows or whatever. And literally once he has human flesh once, he's just going to have more and more of a taste for it until he's fully corrupted into this creature. And so that's basically what Jack tells Xaden is going to happen, that he's you've tasted the power once. The only way forward is for you to continue to lust for it until you turn into the sage, basically, when you're so maddened with power.
And that's how it ends.
And that's how it ends.
Yeah.
Becca Yarros loves a cliffhanger.
Okay, so stars and soup, right?
Stars and soup. So you got to give it a rating out of 5 stars. Half stars are okay, no quarters. And you have to give it a rating, cans of soup.
So I gave this book, when I read it in my Goodreads, 5 stars. It's my favorite of the trilogy so far. And I'm not in good company there. I feel like most people like each one better and better. I like this one better than Onyx Storm. Sorry. I think in terms of soup.
Hold on, I'll do the stars first. And then
okay, great. Yeah.
I also gave it 5 stars. I just don't really I don't have a reason to give it less than 5 stars. I think I liked the first one better, but I also recognize that the way that I read this book and the timeline that I read it and the timeline that we talked about it was choppier than the way I read the first one. And so I think my reading experience on the first one was more pleasant. I've also we're teachers and it's the end of the year and we're not going to get
life is hard.
But I've got a lot going on right now. And so I don't want, that's not Rebecca Yarros' fault. And so I gave it 5 stars because I don't have a reason to not give it 5 stars, which is weird for me, but that I loved it. The end.
Kimberly?
I don't give anything 5 stars. I'm the asshole that it really has to be
We're lucky to still have listeners because of Kim. Continue.
You gave Fourth Wing 5 stars though, didn't you? The first one?
4. Nope.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give it 4 again, just because that's just consistent with what I do. Loved it, is great, but yeah, something's got to really wow me.
Kim, have you ever given a book 5 stars?
Okay, so my favorite book in the entire world is a book called The Sparrow.
4 stars.
I've never read it though. I love talking to someone.
Mary Doria Russell, The Sparrow, sci-fi classic. Actually very appropriate with the changeover of the Pope right now because it has lots of themes about religion.
Interesting. My husband reads like almost exclusively sci-fi, so I'm going to ask if he's read it. I love when people like, as a principal, don't give out 5 stars. I have like specific criteria of what will constitute a 5-star rating, but when people like never give out 5 stars and they're like, there's always like one exception. I'm like, okay, I have to read that book then, because that's like a really meaningful 5-star rating. Then, like, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's my favorite book in the world. The Sparrow.
I rate on vibes.
It was entertaining. That's totally cool.
Yep.
Rick?
I'm giving it 4.5 stars. I'm giving it 4.5 stars because I was more confused in this book than the other one. I was like, wait, there's whetstones and they're in the daggers, and where are we going? There was just it got a little bigger for me, and then I couldn't always connect the dots. But I still loved it. I still thought it was great. So yeah, 4.5 stars for me.
Okay. It sounds like as a group, we're giving it 4.5 stars.
Thanks, Kim. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Okay. And then cans of soup.
Is this also out of 5?
It is.
Yes.
There are no criteria.
No.
Okay. I'd say maybe 4.
Okay.
I feel like the throne scene is just perfection. There's one like really, really fun scene, and I love that. I feel like when I think of spiciness in a romance novel, there's part of me that's like, oh, if I have to clutch my pearls, that should give it a 5. But you're right, there's no rules here. I think it's if I blush, it gets 5, and I didn't blush at it. I like that scene a lot, but I have read some hotter soup.
There's not a ton of soup in this book. We go long stretches without soup, and it's less like in the first book. It's like this: you're building to the soup, and you get it. With this book, it's like there's like more waves of it. But because of the throne scene, I'm giving it 4 cans of soup. I think if the throne scene had not been there, it would be a 3 for me. But the throne scene is 11 cans of soup.
Yeah.
Y'all know I am very harsh about my cans of soup.
Oh, there we go.
So I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay.
The throne scene is great. As we had talked about, I did have to leave my favorite public space, Hamilton's, because I was like, there is anatomically correct body parts being referenced, and I need to go home.
Gotta go. We can't be here.
But also, that was it, you know? And a book that took me, 10 plus hours to read, that was like 20 minutes. So I'm going to give it a 3.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with Kim and also give it a 3 because every single one of us has said the throne scene and nothing else.
There's the shower. The shower scene is okay. It's not bad.
I truly don't remember it. Like it's the throne scene is.
It was sweet.
It's great, you know, and like as you said, the first one was like building up to the soup, and then there was so much soup, and this is just this. And again, you're right. The throne scene is 11 out of 5 cans of soup.
Yeah, but I think that's hard with, like, if you're looking at like the Court of the Green cover versus the Court of the Pink cover, like that's the same thing, right? Where like in the Court of the Green cover, you're building up to it, but you're building up to it the whole time in the Court of the Green cover, and then in the Court of the Pink cover, it's just like they have sex sometimes.
Yeah,
right.
And so I think like that is maybe like a.
And then in book 5, I'm like, this is too much. It's too much.
I didn't get to that one.
When there's too much in an Allie Hazelwood novel, 6 cans of soup. Me and Allie Hazelwood have a great time.
Agreed. Yes.
I'm fine to bump it down and make it a 4.5 star, 3 can of soup book.
I'm good. Yeah, that's great. Love that. And you're not allowed to answer this next question, Julia, unfortunately. What happens next?
What happens next? So we're obviously going to find out some stuff about Xaden's mom. I think they're going to find a cure.
I also think they're going to find a cure. I just don't know when it is.
Is there a 4th book?
Not yet.
There's going to be more.
Heaven's Wing.
I think it's going to be 5. I think that's.
I told you that. It's 5.
Okay.
It's going to be 5.
I'm worried about Andarna and how they're going to protect her, because she waited all these years to hatch, like until Violet came. We didn't talk about that until Violet came along, head of a scribe, heart of a rider. And so I'm worried about how they're going to protect Andarna if like only the elders, the Empyrean, knew about her.
I cannot wait to listen to this as you all read Onyx Storm. I'm so
I-
excited.
I would like to say a thing. Yeah, and Darna was she was an egg for a while, and I was like, this sounds familiar. I need to check something. So I did. I checked a thing, and Brennan says something killed the Venom 600 years ago during the Great War, and we're actively searching for that weapon. And Darna says, I've waited 650 years to hatch, and it was why I was left behind.
Because
we
this
go.
is an audio medium, Amanda's jaw is wide open.
Yep.
Look, Andarna for president, Andarna for president, Andarna for Pope.
So I think that and I'll let you end it with end this first, Kim. For whatever reason, I felt like we're like a book ahead. Like I felt like the first book was actually the second book in a series. I feel like I don't know. That's just how it's felt like for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of what I mean. Like we skipped a quarter of the red cover. So I actually think Xaden might turn bad in the next book. Like, we get like our Darth Vader moment, and we'll get him back later. But I don't know. I just have we have the Onyx Storm and then 2 books after that to go. So I think it's got to do something a little weird.
Okay.
Kimberly?
I think it's too late for him to be like super bad. Like he's not Tamlin.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I figured.
But Rick also, I think, because Akatar is like what got him into this world, like this whole time he's been like, Xaden might not be the guy because Tamlin wasn't the guy. And so like
Tamlin was blonde though.
That's
a really important part of
True. Xaden started as the Shadow Daddy, so like he's already, I also feel okay. So let's be real to our listenership here. Rick's entire algorithm on TikTok and Instagram is all about Fourth Wing, Akatar, other romantasies.
And Kim, so how does
if shit's gonna go down, we would know.
How does Rick share this information with us?
Amanda kindly started us a Instagram group today that Rick can share with us.
Because he copies the links and texts them to us in an iMessage like
I do.
Like a Neanderthal. Like, what are we doing?
Like a savage.
To be fair, I was doing it also because I thought that was the way we were doing it.
75.
We need an Instagram group. It's fine that we're texting on multiple media. It's fine. If you send me an Instagram link in an iMessage, I'm not clicking on it.
Fair.
Not.
Anyways, literally, so Rick and I attended a conference together a couple weeks ago. And so during our break at one point, we were sitting outside and he was just like scrolling. And every single effing thing was just some sort of meme / reel about romantasies. And I was like, oh my God, your algorithm is so fucked.
Mine are all about the Pope and early 2000s Chicago pop punk.
All right.
Wait, what else?
This is the longest episode we've ever done.
What else are we reading? Anything?
No.
We talked about it at the beginning. Sorry.
Okay.
What's our homework?
You tell me. You tell us. We're starting Onyx Storm.
I don't have my phone, but it's a
shared. I got it. We're going to read through chapter 19.
So when you see chapter 20, stop.
Stop. You got that, Jules? Stop.
She's already read it.
Just gotta read it again. She's part of the podcast.
True.
All right. Thank you all for
attention span thing. I read 2 to 4 books at any given moment at the same time.
Me too.
It will take me forever to get through them. But then sometimes I'll read one but listen to it at the same time, and so I'll like
listen to it when I'm not at my Kindle, and I'll read it when I am at my Kindle, and then I get through it so fast. And then other times I'm bouncing around between lots of different things because I get bored.
Sometimes
Well, you guys work with neurodivergent kids, you get it.
I was going to say, sometimes you grow up and your child is diagnosed with ADHD and you go, oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Medicating with caffeine the whole life. Great.
All right. Thank you for listening to our super special, extra long episode from 3 different states.
Yay.
We'll see you in Onyx Storm.
So fun.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.